everyone. Welcome to Digital IQ Community Builders Edition. We have been away on a little break for a little while, but I am so happy to be back. And I am very happy to welcome our guest, our first guest out of the Caribbean. Her name is Annie P. Ruggles. She also goes by the name Anniepreneur, and she is an idea doula. And what I love about her bio is that she has so many descriptive words. It's one of the cutest bios I've ever read, but it says a lot. It says a lot in a nutshell. Hulk-like disdain for hard sales. Hulk-like disdain for hard sales. Tacky self-promotion and overly competitive sleazeballs. Welcome, Annie. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for that fabulous intro.
I'm so happy that you're here. We met on Instagram. And
Yeah.
we're now virtual BFFs.
Yes. And I basically forced that BFF title upon you in our DMs. I'm like, cool. I'm so glad that we like each other. We're best friends now.
We're best friends, officially.
Did I hear you right? Did you say that I'm the first guest outside the Caribbean?
Yes, you're my first guest outside of the Caribbean.
And you're my first Caribbean podcast, interview.
Oh, first.
Double firsts.
Popping cherry. Okay, so let's get going. Tell us about Anniepreneur.
So my career has been, as many people's has been, kind of this winding, weird road that has taken me through all of these different iterations or areas of focus. And for a while in my business, I started really following the trends. So anytime I would come up with a new idea, I would just change all of my social names and I'd go by something new and and that's
I know how that is.
fun, but it's not really good for brand recognition.
Right.
So I asked myself, well, what are the two things that are not going to change? And I said, well, I'm Annie. And I am an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, and I intend to be one forever. And I work with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. So it just occurred to me that for when I'm growing my personal brand, regardless of what I'm selling at the moment, it makes sense to just go on those two concepts. So Anniepreneur.
It's perfect. It works.
Thank you.
Tell me about NonSleazy Sales. Because that's what jumps out all on your page on Instagram. It's always about non-sleazy sales and your Hulk-like disdain for hard sales.
That was me puking in my hand. Very professional. Non-sleazy sales is really my lane that I've found that really clicked and really worked for me, because it's not that I didn't have my own sales avoidance. I definitely did. But for years and years and years, through an iteration of my company called The Idea Doula, I focused a lot on marketing and branding and campaigns. And it was fun and it was invigorating and it was powerful. But I noticed that my clients were not achieving the rate of tangible success that they were expecting as quickly as they were expecting. And so I started to audit their business. And on a whim one day, I just said to a couple of my different clients, send me your sales calls. I know you have recordings. Send me your sales calls. Let's see what's really going on here. And I realized that these good, driven, brilliant, incredible, loving people were getting to that finish line of asking for money and just completely falling down. Falling down. And so I started to ask myself, why are these amazing people not converting the sale? And I realized it's because they have this idea based on what they've been taught by society or mentors that wrong them or a book that they read once in 5th grade that really scared them, that sales is a game exclusively for greedy people. In which they manipulate people to get what they want, no matter what the client needs. And that is so incredibly incomplete. Is that out there in the world? Yes, that's a sleazy sale and a sleazy selling technique. But with the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy and with the idea of non-sleazy sales, I'm trying to separate that possibility from the definite need that people have to ask for money for their products and services.
I have a confession, because one of my very first jobs was at Telemarketing, and I hated it because you get the script and you're told what to say. And even as a telemarketer out here, they give you an American sounding name and you have to put on a little accent. Yeah, I'm not even joking.
Do your accent. Do your American accent.
Oh my God, Addie, really?
Yeah. I think my name was better than my Jamaican accent. Okay.
Well, I think my name was Mandy. So it was like, hi, I'm Mandy. I'm calling from Bank of America. it was bad.
Oh,
Don't do that. Why did you draw me out? You draw me out a while ago.
Mandy? They gave you, like, no offense to the Mandys and Amandas with it, but like, did they want you to just have this very basic American name? I guess so.
It was basic because, I mean, then you can put anything on it. You know, Mandy can look like anybody.
Yeah, Mandy. All right.
Like anybody. So, but I hated it. I didn't like telemarketing. I felt like I was forcing something. I felt like I was forcing somebody to do something I didn't like.
Yeah.
Or that they wouldn't like. I was trying to convince them to do something that may not necessarily be in their best interest, because telemarketers are pretty predatory.
Yep.
And then I left the job very quickly because I couldn't do it. But what I thought, and that experience, what it taught me was that I didn't like sales. But the irony now, as an entrepreneur, is that that's all I do.
Yeah.
I'm constantly selling, and I actually enjoy the sale call, which is really weird. Like, I enjoy discovery calls and I enjoy giving of myself now. But if you told me I was doing sales, like, I refuse to say that I'm doing sales. Like, I'm not doing sales.
But that's exactly what it is that you took your definition of sales, and made it the same as telemarketing. Right? You equated those two situations, and actually that specific job for all of sales.
Right.
Like, even on the calling people, cold calling people and all that stuff. We're going into a major election in the US, and I have a lot of friends who are very active, and they're phone banking right now. So what they're doing is basically election telemarketing, but they love it because they tie it to a feeling of duty. So even the repetitive calls, right? Of course, if you say, I'm going to call 50 people and I'm going to say the exact same thing, no one in their right mind would want to do that.
Exactly.
No one would go, ooh, please let me shove this down the throat of all these people that I'm talking to, whether they want to talk to me or not. But that's not what sales is.
Right.
Much like having someone trick you, con you, manipulate you, overcharge you, underdeliver. We take those words, those actions, and we broaden them to be what sales is. When in reality, all sales is asking and receiving a price in exchange for something you give. It's a give and take, and it can be a win-win. But we've all had to sell stuff we don't want to sell. Girl Scout cookies, fundraising stuff. Our first jobs when we were kids, like, none of us lucked out. I sold dolls that look like humans, and I had to wear this very racy nurse's outfit for a 16-year-old.
That's weird.
Real weird. But I had said, this is what sales is, and this is all that sales is. Would I be in sales now? No.
That's really true. Like, and it only occurred to me maybe within the last 2 years of being an entrepreneur that I actually like this and I'm good at it. And I started wanting to focus more on that element. So bringing in more people into the team who can focus on the other elements, that I can focus on business development and client acquisition, because I'm really good at getting new clients. And it's
sales is one of the first things that people that hate it shop out or farm out to other people, and that's great. If you're in a period of time in your life where you need a sales team, good for you. I'm not dogging that. But a lot of people, rather than ever try to learn themselves how to sell, they take a huge portion of their money and their trust and their brand, and they hand it to a near stranger and they say, you go out and convert that person, which is risky as hell when you're a one person business. Instead, if you can do what you did, if you can do what I did and learn to love the process, delegate your graphic design, delegate your admin, delegate your email campaigns if you need to. But I would never, ever, ever delegate my sales calls, because they're where I shine the best and also where I have the most fun. That's the secret behind it. That's the most fun part of my job.
But then what if you're an introvert? And that leads me into my other question, because you specialize on helping introverts, which I love. And we had our little pre-discussion about the fact that we're both introverts, but people wouldn't necessarily guess that. So we're ambiverts. But how do you approach someone who is probably scared shitless about selling because they have that understanding of themselves being an introvert?
Yeah. We make a lot of assumptions, like a grass is always greener situation with introverts and extroverts and ambiverts and whatever else. But it's really interesting when people think, well, I'm an introvert and therefore I will never be good at this. They just assume right off the bat, like, I will never, ever be good at this. So take the fear that everybody else has and the discomfort that everybody else has about selling. And then apply about 8 more layers of self-protection. Yeah. And that's where introverts live. And I think the first thing that you have to do is, if you are an introvert friendly brand, tell them and back that up in action. There are very, very few of us out here who are saying you don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the flashiest. Like, I'm a flailing Muppet in my 9 to 5, and then I don't talk very much for the rest of the night. You know what I mean? It takes a lot out of me. This is very genuine. This is very much me. But when this well of Muppet is exhausted, I need to recharge. And so I think, number one, I show that in my videos, that I am capable of layers, that it isn't everything out of me isn't just this high octane loud.
Always be on. Like, you don't have to always be on.
Yeah, but like I can and I do get very real with people, and I tackle really sensitive subjects with humor and love, but I also go straight through them instead of around them. And I think what I have discovered over the years of doing it is it's an interesting form of permission-based selling, where the first permission you have to get before you have permission to sell to them, before you even have permission to talk to them, you have to give them permission and encouragement to talk to you. Right? You have to make sure that they know that the area that they're coming into is safe, and that the person that they're responding to is actually interested and there from a non-judgmental place. I cannot pop into the DMs of any of these people that I can just tell on Instagram are painfully introverted. They would be like, no. Yeah. This crazy loud American is up in my business and I don't want it. But what I can do is notice who's commenting on my stuff. And when I get a comment from someone new, then I can go in and I can just say, hey, thanks so much for your comment. I really like this thing, because then I'm responding to dialogue. So that's the other thing, is like positive reinforcement of introverts, finding security and finding a place in the conversation. We don't want to, demean them or belittle their, oh my God, you comment on my stuff. You don't comment on anything. We don't want to do that, but we do want to be like, it's really good to hear from you, Anika. It's really good to hear from you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mandy. It's really good to hear from you, Mandy.
You went there. I shouldn't have said anything to you.
You should have never told me that ever. But introverts just need another layer of invitation. Because what everybody needs, what every single person needs from anyone that they're going to have a trust-based transaction with, is they need to feel seen by that person. They need to feel safe with that person, and they need to feel supported by that person. And
Right.
introverts just take an extra couple of levels of coaxing, right? It's like being at a high school dance all over again, all over the internet every day. You got to go to the Wallflowers and say, hey, do you want to dance? And then be okay with the fact that they say no. But keep
Right. But when you were talking a while ago, the aspect of being an empath came into play as well. Because when I look at your content, and when in terms of interacting with you, and even what you just mentioned, where you will probably pick up on a vibe, or you'll pick up on something when you're in the DMs or on a comment, if they've actually been willing to make a comment. How do you, first off, what's an empath? Because some folks may not actually know.
Yeah.
So, and many people, in terms of even conversations that I've been having, many people are discovering that they're empaths right now during this very emotional and intense time.
Yep.
So break that down a little bit for me.
The way that I define empathy is as a loving human sponge. In that, especially when it comes to emotions. So if you've ever had the strong suspicion that you are mad, sad, angry, hungry, frustrated because someone else in your life is, you're probably an empath. If you've ever been at work in an office with other people and one of your coworkers or your boss comes in a really bad mood and instantly it affects your mood, you're an empath. Same thing in your home. If you, it's very big for parents to be empaths because they're used to responding to the needs of their kid. But, if you're with your partner and they had an awful day at work or a great day at work and it starts to move your mood, you're an empath. And a lot of the people I work with identify that way because they're givers. Right? They'll give you that space. They think it's receiving. I'm receiving that energy. What they're really giving is space, saying, I will take all your negative, nasty energy onto myself. Right? I love this quote. It's a blessing and not a blessing. Absolutely.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Incredible to be able to bond with someone in that way, to read someone in that way, to make them feel seen, safe, and supported, right? That tool of empathy, understanding what is going on here and here in another human as quickly as possible. What a beautiful gift, right? But it's also, like introversion, another thing that people love to put out the label as an excuse not to do it. I'm an empath. I can't hurt people. I can't manipulate people by selling because it hurt me if it hurts them, and I don't want to hurt me and I don't want to hurt them, so I just won't ask.
One of the humps that I had to get over was when I was setting my pricing. I got your reaction, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, because from that empathetic perspective, when you're like, this person can't afford this price,
right?
And then you're kind of, I know,
right? It twists. Now here's the thing: being rejected just sucks. Regardless of the terms. Like, here's the thing: I cannot promise you that if you come and take my programs, rejection will not hurt. I can't promise that. That's just not real. Rejection sucks. But what you can do is you can put yourself in that situation and go, okay, this is still a person in need. I'm not the right solution for them. Let me give them a quick win so that when their circumstances come back, they reinvest. Right? They reinvest in us because we invested in them, whether or not they could invest in us, right? So that's if we get the no. But another thing that empaths tend to do, and this one I was so guilty of, is we assume a no the moment we get on the call without even realizing we're doing it. So then what we do is apologizing, right? Anika, I know that this is an expensive program, and I know that that's probably a lot of money for you right now. And I know that there's COVID, and I know that it's 2020, and I know that, and like in America, we're like 5 days from this really extremely important election. And I'm really sorry that I shouldn't even be talking to you about sales right now. But since you were on my calendar anyway, I guess I'll bring it up. And like, this is what we do.
Yes.
This is what we do.
It's so true.
And it's all well intentioned,
Mhm.
right? These people that I work with, most of the people I work with are coaches or healers of some form. And
Mhm.
they're out trying to make their dream manifest for them, for their families, and for the people they're serving. Right?
Right.
But as such, they get on and they're like, oh, sales is going to hurt this person. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give them 45 minutes of homework. And then at the end, I'll go, okay, so I guess I should tell you what I'm going to sell now. You know what? We don't really have time. Why don't you just get back on my calendar in a couple of months and maybe I'll
Wow.
help you
How
then.
many people feel attacked right now? Just drop
I
this into
love
the
you all. I did the same thing. If you feel attacked, you're welcome. It's coming from a place of love that I
and be slapping us.
forceful American. Yeah, I told you, Hulk-like disdain. That's where the Hulk-like disdain comes in.
I
Right?
get it. I get it. But it's so true though. And these are some real struggles that I personally have had and still have to some extent. And then of course with COVID, it's like anything that I had overcome before, it just came back with a vengeance. And it was a matter of, how do I actually have a sales call right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what the answer is to how do I actually have a sales call right now? Is the need still there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only question you need to ask.
Mhm.
Truly.
Mhm.
If you're firm in the value you provide,
Yeah.
you know what you're giving is important and that they need it, then you
Mhm.
can continue to sell with confidence. Now, maybe you should be looking at lower ticket products right now. Maybe you should look at payment plans right now. Maybe you
Yeah.
should look at making yourself more accessible. Note that I did not say discount. I said
Mhm.
lower ticket or payment plan.
I like that.
That's the other thing. We start to like go nuts on discounts. But, you know, maybe
So
it's
true.
not a matter of to sell or not to sell. It's how to
Mhm.
meet people closer to where they are so that they can
Mhm.
get benefits faster no matter what's going on. But the solution to that is not go, well, the world's messed up, so I'll wait until the world is not messed up
Right.
in order to sell to this person. Number one, how are you going to know when their world isn't messed up?
Very good point. Very good point.
And also, if they reached out to you, if they engaged you, if they
Mhm.
engaged your content, your freebie, your funnel, if they're watching this show, that means
Mhm.
that they are open to at least have a conversation.
Right.
So then the question is, again, is there a pressing need here?
Yeah.
And if
How can I help?
sell.
Let me help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
there's not a
Yeah.
need, then don't sell. Why would you sell something that they don't need?
How do you balance that aspect of wanting to give
Mm-hmm.
to actually being able to set some boundaries? Because you had a post up on your page.
I love how much you hate this post, by the way. I love it.
It got me all up in my feelings. I still am. Generosity without boundaries is not a virtue. It is self-torture. If you're not a nonprofit, stop acting like one. Break that down for us.
You know, this one, hearing it back from you, it still, you know, hits me right in the soul too, because
Yeah.
I think this for me was the hardest one lesson in my own life and in my
Yeah.
own business. And it was one of those things that I learned by doing it ass backwards for so long until I finally realized that I was exhausted. My clients were blissfully happy and my quality of life was garbage. And it's like, wait a minute, what's up here? And the word boundaries was about as sexy to me as a human sponge as
Right.
the word sales was.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want boundaries. I want to give. I want to give. I'm a sponge. I just want to give. I want to give all the time. I just want to give. And if they need me, I'm here. And they chose me over my competitors. So I'm going to be the most available.
Whew. Yeah.
No, right? No. It is an act of self-torture in that, you know, we look at our lives, and I always teach 4 currencies, right? There's not only the currency of money, there's the currency of time, there's the currency of energy, and there's the currency of trust, right? If we're not getting all 4 out of someone, we're not really making a good sale.
Yeah.
But we can sit down and we can go, okay, what am I asking? What am I asking for? What am I asking for in terms of back? It's easier for a lot of empaths to ask for time right? I have a 90-day program. How long is it? 90 days. What am I
Yeah.
asking for? An hour a week for 90 days or whatever it may be, right? Or
Yeah.
energy. I need you to face your fears. I need you to jump off the dock. I need you to do all these things. Or trust. You got burned really badly in the past by another mentor because their program was garbage. Here's how I'm going to prove to you my program isn't garbage. It's easier for us to ask for those things. Those are currencies too. But at the end of it, we still got to go, oh. And the cost for that is this, right? And if we don't get there, then all we're doing is giving, and going, and as for me, I deserve nothing.
Wow.
And enforcing that on ourselves. Who told you that you have to be a saint?
Yeah.
Who told you that you had to be a superhero? Saints and superheroes both get paid. There's a currency there. There's money exchanged, right? Superheroes, who bought them all those fancy outfits? Who bought them those planes? Right? Now that's fictitious, but modern day heroes in every industry all get compensated in some way. Religious figures throughout history.
Some exchange value.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the tough thing is, especially for my healers and my very woo-woo ethereal people, is I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but I cannot change the fact that money is the energetic exchange on this planet. Right? If they want to give you something, if you're in a mood to go back to the barter system because you can make it work and you actually need something, great. But I can't sell you my program for 5 goats. I don't need a goat. I don't need a goat.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't need exposure. Artists get trapped all the time. Givers get trapped all the time. Exposure. You can't pay your rent in exposure.
Yeah, for creative entrepreneurs too, they struggle with that too. Yeah.
So that's why I started really fixated on boundaries. It's like, how can I say that I want a win-win? I want a positive life for me. I want a positive business for me. I want my clients to be thrilled. If I'm only ever focusing on my clients, potential clients, and non-clients being thrilled with me, where does my quality of life come in? And the people I care about. Like, you have a little boy. Where does his happiness comes in if you don't ask for money?
Yeah. And then if my cup is empty and there's nothing left to give, which happens a lot, which is also why I went quiet for a few weeks, because it was empty. I was drained, literally.
But what if you don't owe the internet an apology for that?
It's a very good point too.
Your people didn't hear from you? Sure, you can speak to that, but also you have permission to be human. And even if you set, and consistency is really, really important, you know, up when you say you're going to show up, deliver what you're going to say you're going to deliver. But when it comes to social media, there's also that right to be like, you didn't post.
That's the thing too. And there's also that pressure on social media to always be on. Yeah. And then there's that element, especially if you're an introvert, ambivert, empath like us, where there's that added pressure kind of looming in the back of your head, like, shoot, I should be posting, or maybe this, or maybe that, or maybe all of these questions. Like, how do you find some semblance of sanity in the midst of all of that?
For me, it comes down to what level of required is this action truly? If I don't post on Instagram today, will I create any kind of a horrible ripple that will actually negatively impact my clients, my potential client, or me? No, I'm not going to get anything that's the benefit out of that Instagram post today. Right? I'm not going to meet someone like you because you saw my post on that today. And that's a decision that I make, right? I make that decision consciously. But at the same point, if I have curriculum that I've promised my clients, and this just happened, like I hired a team to deliver all this curriculum for me that they cleaned up and everything, and they just never did it. And I have clients waiting on that curriculum. If I don't want to do that because I feel closer to empty, well, I have a deadline. That's a lot more important for me to get done. So if I have a limited amount of energy, right? If that bank of energy, if that gas tank of energy is sitting real close to low, then I will prioritize the things that need to be prioritized over the things that feel productive. Like on Instagram.
Yeah. So you mentioned like people that you care about and your own community just a while ago in terms of touching on it. Like how important is it for community building for your brand, for Non-Sleazy Sales Academy? How important is community for you?
It's been such a beautiful and interesting challenge because for the first time in my business, I am not offering a Facebook group or a community component of my program, right? Sales Empath has group calls, which are very community building, but it's not like, ooh, I am going to close a sale today, so let me go tell all my friends at the water cooler that I'm going to do it and get my rah-rahs from my group, right?
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. I'm not knocking that stuff. I love that stuff. But for boundary's sake, because anybody that's run a community before knows that it can eat your life really fast and screw your boundaries even faster. I've started to take on the challenge of finding community where I'm marketing. And that is really interesting in that I'm not going out and fostering my own community now, but I am connecting one-on-one with the people that I meet and the people that reach out to me and the people like you. And I can go, you got great people and I got great people and they get it, you get it. And we're all selling and working from a place of really sexy ethics and integrity that people get, or you specialize on working with introverts and I do too, and da-da-da-da-da. And so I'm creating those bonds between people as I form them with myself, right? So there's a lot of community thinking in social media. There's a lot of community thinking in how I'm going to share this interview. Right? How can I use this video file to create community? Well, what questions are we asking? You're asking me really excellent questions. When I post this video, what questions am I going to turn around and ask the audience, encouraging those answers, pulling them out, like we talked about before. And then how can we say, oh, this video is amazing? If someone that knows me says, oh, this video is amazing, I love this topic, I go, well, do you know Anika? Because she's great. You should know her. Here's her DM her. She loves to get DM, da-da-da. Build a community, right? And in this time of COVID, I'm not doing in-person networking events. I used to run them all the freaking time. I used to attend them all the time. But connecting, way back, way back, Seth Godin wrote this really beautiful book called Tribes. And the point of it was that in order for a group to function as a group, certain things have to happen. Number one, you have to find a way for you to speak to the people. Then you have to provide a way for the people to speak to you. Then the third one, the kicker, is getting those people to talk to each other. And that does not stop when you don't have a Facebook group anymore. You can still connect people. You can still get them talking. You can still say, oh, you know what? She had a really amazing post about this last week. You should check that out. Or, who'd be a great guest for your for this, for your show? It's this, it's that. And so becoming that human Rolodex, as it were, then we can foster community wherever we go because we're in that community way. Even if you're introverted, find louder people that are flashier than you. Like Rhonda.
Rhonda who's watching, because Rhonda is louder than me. Rhonda. But
Rhonda is louder than you?
Oh,
I don't think anybody's louder than me.
Well, okay. I think the two of you need to be live together.
Rhonda, get in my DMs right now because we need to see who's louder, you or me. This is now This
Next
is a
time we're
war.
gonna have Annie and Rhonda in studio for community builders. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a mess. Like the three of us have had enough DMs to know that that would be a jolly good time. I
Oh
don't
my
know
god.
how the content would be, but you know.
We need to have like probably wine ready for that one. So maybe we'll do it after 5. That might be a better idea. Oh, Rhonda says yes. It's gonna
Digital
happen.
IQ after hours.
After dark. I like the whisper as well.
Yeah.
Very ASMR. Annie, tell us how individuals can connect with potentially introverted clients. Like how do you get over that hump?
Keep trying. Be persistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Much like you would treat an introverted friend at a party, especially if you are an empath, or especially if you really can suss out what someone is feeling.
Yeah.
If someone is feeling excluded from the conversation, if you're on a group call or a workshop or something like that, and you have, you know, people in the front row like me,
Yeah.
the whole time, cool. See if you can take what that person did and say, hey, do you relate to what that person just said?
Right.
Or not. One of the things that's so terrifying for an introvert is to just say, what questions do you have? Or, you know, hey, I'm here.
It's true.
Open-ended.
It's true. I've had on calls where I'll pick up on a vibe from someone, and I'll probably, even while live, like message that person privately or encourage them to, you know, come off, slide into the DMs, we'll take something offline. And it really is about reading the room, the virtual room as well.
Yeah. And also, you know, if one of the other things that you can do is handle sensitive topics with grace and honesty. Like what we said, it's what we're going for is seen, safe, and supported.
Yeah.
That means seen, safe, and supported through the hard stuff, through the problems you solve, through the pain points of them all. If we just stay in this very surface place, yes, maybe introverts will feel comfortable, but then we stop providing value. So instead, if we can say, hey, I want to have a conversation and I'd really like to hear from everybody. What do I mean by that? I mean everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you just get that vibe that someone is introverted, then maybe you shouldn't call them out on the live, like you said, but do go into the DMs and say, again, like what I do. I noticed that you made this great comment or asked this great question. I responded to it onto the live, but I wanted to let you know that I'm here if you want to continue the conversation. There's your invitation.
Yeah.
Right? And then also just look for the people your competitors neglect. Because introverts get neglected a lot.
It is so true.
Right? And so if you're looking at your competitors, we're all looking at our competitors all the time in positive ways and negative ways. But if you look at, you know, if all your competitors are trying to do is attract the biggest, shiniest fish in the pond, that means that there are 10 other fish underneath that going, what about me?
Yes.
I guess
but they don't want to say it.
Right? Or I guess I'd have to wait until I'm braver, shinier, smarter, sexier, thinner in order for this person to pay attention to me. Hell no. And that's all subconscious, right? We're not sitting there going, they like so-and-so more than me. But at the same point, you know, if you know that someone is not as bold about their value as you should be, that you can coach them through that.
Yes.
Say, hey, why is your Instagram following so low? You have really great content. Are you not asking people to follow you? Right? That's the kind of stuff that you can get in there and go, let me help you. Let me hear you. Let me see you. And let me introduce you again to other people that are safe, that will also want to hear from you and foster you, right? It's all about that kind of cone of awareness of who's even out there.
Yeah.
But everybody wants the client that's going to be the loudest and proudest success story. So we go with the most confident, ego-driven person we can find, or the most pitiful case, so that they'll have this random transformation. And it's like, well, what about everybody else?
But then that's very self-serving because
Of
it's like,
course
oh,
it
I
is.
need to go after that person to have that transformation on display. But that's not about them. It's about you at that point in time.
I mean, it's the same thing as putting diverse pictures on your website and not going out and getting diverse clients. It's
Ooh,
performative. If you're
very
being
true.
empathic as performance, if
Mm-hmm.
you're listening as performance, if you're being a connector as performance, then go get a job as a performer. If you
Yeah.
want to put that gloss on your life, go ahead, but
Mm-hmm.
don't be in an honesty-based profession. It's not for you.
You know, when you were talking a while ago, something else occurred to me in the sense that um, there's that need for emotional intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not an empath.
Yes.
Because and when you're working a sales call, so
Mm-hmm.
that you're able to gauge that person's, where are they? What are their needs? How can you really connect with them? What would you say to somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody had said that they're not an empath, but they're getting the value out of this. Like, what would you say to someone who probably feels a little disconnected from the softer side of selling?
Cool. I love that question. So I read 138 sales books last year, and I cannot tell you
Mm-hmm.
how many times empathy was brought up as a trait that you need to hone if you want to be a top money building shark seller. Like, you got to get in there and you got to know what they need. You got to do this and you got to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's great. But it's so funny that like people that identify as empaths hate sales, but
Yeah,
people who identify as salespeople need to learn empathy.
it's really funny.
It's really weird, but I think if you're not identifying as an empath, but you're having trouble bonding with people on discovery calls or in this sales call situation, what if you looked at it from a new lens, which is that you are not driving that caller, or you're not driving the bus of this call, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are not the driver, you are the navigator. You're not in the back seat, you're not
Mm-hmm.
on top of the car, you're not in the car behind that car, you're in the car in a position of power, but you're not driving, because a
Yeah.
lot of the times people feel like I have this limited amount of time to connect with this person and tell them what I'm all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to over rehearse this canned spiel that I,
Yeah.
and the second I get that person on the phone, I'm going to go off to the races because I have that limited time and a lot to say. So here goes. I got to hit all my talking points. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, if you take the scarier route, which is giving up that power
Mm-hmm.
and letting them make choices right in the beginning,
Right.
they realize that they're not being force fed anything. So
Mm-hmm.
they relax into the sale. So
Yeah.
you relax into the sale. So what you're reading from them is not just buyer anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
shyness and all this other stuff that happens when you're in like a heightened defensive place.
Right.
Instead, when you get them to relax and see that they have power and that they're being heard and listened to and not just jammed into a box of your offerings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can actually look at what is happening emotionally underneath that with
Mm-hmm.
much more clarity and awareness, even if you're not an empath, because what you're not picking up on them is just performative, and they're not getting that from you either.
Right. Tell me, let's break it down then in
Yeah.
terms of non-sleazy sales, because we tackle someone who needs to learn empathy, and then we have the folks who are overly empathetic, and overly is, relative.
Yeah.
But what would be your 5 steps to non-sleazy sales?
In this context, especially what we're talking about in terms of community building, is
Yeah.
I think the first thing you have to do is realize that how you sell is a multifaceted choose your own adventure, all powered by who you want to be in that person's life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you don't want to be a jerky, nasty, sleazy seller, give yourself permission to find alternatives.
Yeah.
And the second one is redefine what sales actually is. If for you, sales is still telemarketing. If for me, Mandy, or if for me, it's wearing a nurse's uniform that's sexually inappropriate for a 16-year-old and having
Yeah.
to baby dolls that actually cry, yeah, I'm not going to want to sell, like we said. But if you look at selling and the act of receiving compensation for your value as an exchange for your labor of love, then we start to say, okay, I am worthy of this. End of the bargain.
Right.
This is not just this benevolent gift. It's a benevolent gift that also feeds me and feeds my family. The other one is remember. If you are helping someone make a decision based on something that they deeply want or need, you are going to encounter resistance. You are going to encounter objections. Those are not an opportunity for you to get pissy and quit. Those are, in fact, an opportunity for you to dig deeper into what's actually fueling the conversation, what those needs and emotions actually are, and for you to find a workaround that works for both of you or doesn't.
Or it doesn't.
Right? The next one is aim for long-term relationships if you can. This one does not aim. This one does not aim. Not all businesses can have a long-term thing, right? If you're, if you are a, birth doula and everything else, and you have a client that's like, I'm only ever having one kid, then unless they have an oops baby, that's a one-time client. But the long term in that is referrals, testimonials, case studies, pictures of that sweet little baby on your website, right? That's long term. And the way, if we think long term, if we assume that the person that gets on the phone with us is going to be in our lives and us in theirs for a long time, we treat them differently. What most sleazy salespeople do is they go race to the bottom line, get the payment, forget that person exists.
Yeah, like fast food.
Yep, that person, I'm treating them like a transaction instead of like a person. In, out, I'm done, bye, on to the next. If instead, when we get into the conversation, whether it's someone reading your sales page or watching your content or sitting down on the discovery call with you, if we assume that they're here to stay, we treat them like we're here to stay. We compensate them like we're here to stay. We listen like we're here to stay, and not like they're just in this revolving door of us. And the last one is, even if you're not an empath, sell with empathy and compassion in all areas, but especially in this time of global fear.
Yeah.
Everybody is stressed out right now. Everybody is living in some weird nightmare right now, right? Whether it's tropical storms or wildfires or Donald Trump, whatever it is, we are all living in some stressful zone right now. And as such, if you're not honoring that fear, honoring that risk, and honoring the investment that you're asking of them, despite everything that's going on, you're going to lose the sale because you're not looking at that person holistically. So what I would say is, before you get on that call, before you sit down to write that sales page, before you post on Instagram, ask yourself what that potential client or client type needs from you right now in order for them to feel seen, safe, and supported. Then follow that with compassion and as much empathy as you can muster, so that they understand deeply that you are selling to them as a human and not selling to them as a wallet.
I love that. Annie, you're incredible. I love you. You're so cool. Anniepreneur. Please, guys, you need to follow Annie on Instagram. You can find her at Anniepreneur. Annie, I'm going to drop in the comments your Making Selling Easy Masterclass.
Yay!
Without getting sleazy. Making Selling Easy without getting sleazy. I dropped it into the comments, guys. Go and check it out.
That is totally free. What did you say, babe?
I said it's been such a pleasure.
It has been a complete pleasure on my side as well. I love these topics. I love these questions. I love introverts. If you're out there and you're watching and you feel like nobody hears you, we've said my Instagram handle a million times. We met in DMs.
Yes.
I love DMs. If you need someone to hear you, I am here. DM me. If you need to find more people like Anika, like me, I know them. If you need that boost, reach out, right? And then when the time is right, I'll sell you. But in the meantime, if you want to talk, let's talk.
And it's so true because Annie has connected me to a couple of other people as well. And I've done the same too, but that's community. You know, community looks different to different people. You don't necessarily have to have a Facebook group or a particular mastermind or anything of that nature. It really, community is what you make it. Yeah.
And it's made one-to-one.
Yeah. Community is built on one-to-one interactions too.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Annie, for joining me today. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. We've had people who have sat on the stream all for the whole time. I think today the timing is probably good because it's everybody's lunchtime. So guys, let me know in the comments if this is a more ideal time for you, because I've been testing out the 1 p.m/2 p.m. time period, or if you want us to go back to evenings. But I really loved the energy of today, and I love you, Annie. You're awesome.
I love you too, BFF/Mandy.
Oh, you're not letting that go.
Nope, sure not. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for all the great comments and all the great support that we've had on the stream. And I love that everyone's hanging in on their lunch break. I can't wait to get to know all of our viewers better, and I cannot wait to see you next time, BFF.
Yes, bye, Annie. Take care. Bye, everybody. Thank you.